Upon spotting a distressed large creature underwater, seasoned diver Julian promptly sprung into action, dedicating himself to aiding the animal. It was during this endeavor that he made an alarming discovery. Indonesia is renowned for its remarkable biodiversity and picturesque landscapes, making it a sought-after destination for vacationers. It was against this backdrop that a group of tourists found themselves aboard an Indonesian boat, accompanied by professional diver Julian Dongyo. Cruising around the islands, the group relished the fresh air while keeping a lookout for majestic mantas, graceful turtles, and the diverse marine life inhabiting the Indian Ocean. This mode of boating played a pivotal role in propelling the country's flourishing tourism sector forward. Over time, boat operators meticulously honed their routes, capitalizing on the appeal of taking visitors to the less explored islands. Recognizing the heightened enthusiasm tourists exhibited when presented with the opportunity to venture to these off-the-beaten-path locales, locals embraced this approach. The greater distance from other tourists enabled a deeper connection with nature and access to sites absent from mainstream resort promotions. This personalized touch cultivated a sense of individuality and distinction, effectively winning over the hearts of the visitors. However, this strategy came with a caveat: an elevated potential for encountering unfriendly creatures or sustaining injuries. From an early age, Julian's aspiration was to become a diver. Through years of dedicated learning and practical experience, he paved the way for his dreams to materialize. Residing on Gorontalo, an Indonesian island renowned for its crystal-clear waters, Julian established himself as an audacious and proficient diver. In a remarkably brief span, he secured the coveted role he had been tirelessly working towards. His current occupation involved guiding tourists on these boats, offering insights into the native flora and fauna of the region. While Julian's most frequent job was to lead the diving tours by jumping into the water, he would also occasionally accompany the fishing boats on their expeditions. On this day, while on a fishing boat, they saw something truly rare deep under the water surface, something quite large. There were very few marine animals that could grow to such a massive size. Whales, perhaps, or frightening sharks. Julian and the boatmen had keen eyes and knew how to see through the waters. They spotted the large form looming below first, but they knew it was only a matter of time before one of the guests saw it too. Julian got to work immediately, trying to identify the animal, and while doing so, he noticed something alarming. The animal was not moving. This was not the normal behavior of a large fish in the Indian Ocean. As the tourists started noticing the creature, they gathered to the side of the boat that had the best view. They began to snap pictures and ask questions, but the fishermen didn't know how to answer. Little did they know that they were not on a standard boat trip that day. Something truly special was happening. Julian geared up and prepared himself to jump into the water to investigate. He was nervous and felt like all the guests were watching him as he went through his process. The other staff members explained what was happening, and everyone became alert and fascinated by Julian's deep-sea expedition. Guests and fishermen alike held their breath as they watched Julian dive in. They were very nervous because some of the pictures the tourists had taken showed something strange. They brought their photos to the fishermen to show them, and they all looked at a big fin sticking out from atop the fish. This indicated that the animal was likely a shark of some sort. The fishermen looked closely at the images, but they couldn't definitively determine if the creature was really a shark. It was all up to the brave Julian, who would soon be swimming downward below the boat to gather more information. Julian was a rather remarkable person. He saw each and every living thing as precious and important, and he was ready to help whatever creature was stuck below. He had a strong hunch that the mystery creature was tangled in a fishing net or some other kind of trap. Being virtually immobile would be detrimental to the creature's health, and that was all Julian needed to know to want to help it. Meanwhile, all the others were thinking of the risks to his safety. What if he swam back down to meet a very angry shark? Could he really help the creature and manage to get it back to the boat unscathed? As he neared the animal, two things became clear. First of all, Julian was correct. The animal was indeed tangled in a mess of fishing lines. Secondly, it was not a shark at all. Once he was close enough, Julian recognized the familiar shapes and colors belonging to an orca, and a large one at that. It was then that Julian realized he was putting himself in a dangerous position. Giant orcas are known for being one of the biggest and most predatory animals to roam the ocean. They are usually at the very top of the food chain, even above sharks. Beyond that, if the orca whale shifted suddenly into Julian, its weight and size alone could take him out. Freeing this animal was going to require precision and delicacy. Julian took measured breaths and went about things one step at a time. He reached the orca and called for reinforcements. The whale and the boat crew drew nearer and nearer. The tourists were experiencing the adventure of their lives as they watched all the action up close. One of the fishermen, a friend of Julian's, jumped in the water to help him. All the stimulus was making the orca even more uncomfortable, and it began to flail and try to scare the men away. However, they were too compassionate to leave an animal in need. The orca was likely terrified and unsure of what was going to happen. Julian and his friend tried to use their voices and body language to communicate to the orca whale that they were there to help, not to harm. Julian began slowly and deliberately untangling the fishing lines. It was hard work, and the poor orca was not enjoying it. He noted the increased signs of discomfort coming from the animal and knew he had to do something quickly. Under the watchful eye of his friend, Julian swam over to the orca's fin. In an action that was either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish, he began to pet it. The tourists watched in awe as he blatantly risked his life, and they breathed out a collective sigh of relief when they saw the whale relax and stop moving around. The air was electric as everyone watched in silence. Then the hushed words of Julian's friend fell upon the water. He told Julian to trade places with him because there was something frightening he needed to see right away. Gently swimming, they reached the point where Julian's friend had mentioned. A sharp gasp escaped Julian as fear crossed his expression for the first time that day. The main fishing line troubling the orca was submerged near its belly, the constriction of the knot now evident to Julian. This revelation brought both relief, as he knew how to free the animal, and a deep, unsettling fear of maneuvering beneath the orca. Despite the high risks, Julian's determination to aid the distressed creature remained unwavering. His friend maintained their efforts to keep the orca calm while Julian dove beneath to remove the lines. After a tense passage of time, the lines finally floated away, prompting joyous relief. Remarkably, the orca remained still as Julian and his friend safely returned to the boat. Recognizing the need to encourage the whale to move, Julian gently prodded its tail with a large stick. With a subtle nudge, the orca comprehended its newfound freedom. Amid cheers, the orca swam away and Julian's wide smile reflected his triumph. He had not only rescued a magnificent creature, but also emerged from the endeavor unharmed. The orca's evident gratitude left an indelible mark on Julian, a memory to cherish indefinitely. Do you possess the bravery to aid a creature as potentially hazardous as an orca or a shark? What do you think about Julian's actions? We welcome your opinions in the comment section beneath. Thank you.